If you want to compel your audience to act, tell more stories. Hi, my name is Teresa Franco McCarrow, and I've made it my mission to help people tell the right story at the right time to the right audience to get the right results. Stories are magic for the brain. In other words, our brain pays attention to a story 22 times better than facts or data alone. And in my research, I have found that there are 5 neurological responses inherent in any good story. So today we're going to talk about those 5 responses and what those neurochemicals are and how you can use those to activate the right response for your audience. The verbiage I use is if you don't want your audience to flee, FLLEA, you need to activate one of those 5 emotions: fear, love, longing, empathy, or action. So fear, you might think, why would I want to tell a fear story? Or what's the point of scaring my audience? Well, fear is going to release cortisol, and cortisol helps us focus. And so fear is not necessarily a bad thing. So if you know your audience is feeling really anxious, maybe you need to slow down and put some suspense in your stories or change up the pacing a little bit. Fear helps us focus. Number 2, love. Love is the release of dopamine. So dopamine is that neurochemical in the brain that gets released every time we see those likes in our feed or we get somebody saying, oh, yay. So if you know your audience is feeling really depleted or lonely, sprinkle in some love stories and start releasing dopamine. Number 3, longing. Longing is the idea where your audience might be feeling really stressed or they might feel very disconnected. So perhaps you need to tell a story that's going to release serotonin. And serotonin is that chemical in the brain that it just helps us feel calm. It's sometimes how I feel after I eat a big, huge bowl of pasta. So if you know your audience is feeling anxious, tell some stories that are going to release serotonin to help your audience calm down. Number 4, empathy. One of the best neurochemical responses for empathy is when we release oxytocin. Oxytocin is that mirroring chemical. That's the chemical that helps people say, oh my gosh, she gets me. So let's imagine maybe you're a leader and you want to see more of your direct reports responding to you or relating to you. Maybe you tell a story that's going to release oxytocin. Some of the best stories to release oxytocin and help people feel like, oh my gosh, she gets me, are failure stories or stories where you have overcome. And then the audience thinks, oh yeah, she's just like me, releasing oxytocin. And last and certainly not least is adrenaline. If you know your audience is stuck and they need to get moving, start telling a story that is going to release adrenaline or has a very strong call to action. So to recap, if you want to engage your audience, start telling more stories and tell stories around the 5 neurological responses inherent in any good story. Fear releases cortisol. Love releases dopamine. Longing releases serotonin. Oxytocin gets released when we feel empathy. And last and certainly not least, adrenaline for that action. Tell more stories, use emotion, connect with your audience. That's why story works.